Within the next few minutes, you will see lost, hidden, or shadow-banned truths throughout the years. The following information is outside of the Overton window and will ultimately not be acceptable to the Ministry of Truth control vectors, such as Wikipedia. The consequences of knowing these hidden truths may be dire if acted upon irrationally. Think before you act, and remember, knowing is half the battle.
Like there's an old saying, like history is written by the victors. It's like, well, yes, but not if your enemies are still alive and have a lot of time on their hands to edit Wikipedia.
My name's Catherine Marr, and I used to be, until very recently, the CEO of the Wikimedia Foundation, which is the organization behind Wikipedia. The places where we are prone to disagreement, say politics and religion. Well, as it turns out, not only does Wikipedia's model work there, it actually works really well. Because in our normal lives, these contentious conversations tend to erupt over disagreement about what the truth actually is. But the people who write these articles, they're not focused on the truth.
Entries on Wikipedia, and you know how unreliable that site is, claims that Biden's firing of Shokin to protect himself and his son Hunter, it's just a conspiracy theory. This line is supported by mainstream news outlets like CNN and USA Today. But evidence presented in a U.S. Senate committee investigation claims that Shokin's dismissal was related to the Biden family's corruption schemes. The committee alleges that Shokin was fighting corruption in Ukraine and his scrutiny endangered Burisma. Shokin himself recently made public declarations stating that Biden had him ousted from office because he was hot on his trail.
Видимо, господину Байдену доложили, что мы подходим к тому моменту, что начнутся допросы его сына и остальных лиц, Арчера, ну и других лиц, которые причастны к этой ситуации по делу Бурисма. И они понимали, прекрасно понимали, что это может закончиться довольно для них плачевно.
They're not focused on the truth. They're focused on something else, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years of working with these brilliant folks, I've come to believe that they are onto something. That perhaps for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth might not be the right place to start. In fact, a reverence for the truth might be a distraction that's getting in the way of finding common ground and getting things done.
She's from, we got Council on Foreign Relations.
She came from the Council on Foreign Relations?
The Truman National Security Project,
again,
Open World Economic Forum.
She's
a lizard person is what
she's
she is.
A lizard person.
Oh, U.S. State Department. Atlantic Council, Democracy and Tech Initiative.
There couldn't be...
What a piece of... She has a degree in Islamic studies also.
If it was CIA, it would be better.
I don't think they could beat as evil. So she's been
And now she's the head of NPR.
So
this gets to the heart of the culture divide in the modern West. Whether you believe truth is a priority or it's a hindrance.
Just up until a few days ago, if you typed in Hunter Biden email controversy, it would redirect you to an article about the Biden-Ukraine conspiracy theory.
But now, even left-leaning media vouch for the emails.
A lot of what was on that laptop is true.
It took the New York Times more than a year to say that, but it took Wikipedia even longer.
Craig Newmark
is an American internet entrepreneur and philanthropist, best known as the founder of the classified website Craigslist.
Was one of the initial donors, giving $1 million. Peter Baldwin and his wife $5 million. Amazon and Facebook gave $1 million each, and George Soros,
of course, George Soros,
$2 million.
Jeff Bezos.
People on the left tend to get a lot more protection from administrators.
The administrators are special editors who've been given the power to overrule other editors and make final decisions. Some administrators proudly advertise that they're socialists, and they post pictures of Che and Lenin on their own profiles.
And these are the people who decide which sources are acceptable on Wikipedia.
On these socialism and communism pages, for years, there was no mention of the millions killed by socialism and communism.
It's kind of treated as something of an arcane academic debate, but we're talking about mass murder.
Wikipedia even added, we cannot ignore the lives saved by communist modernization.
On the side of governmental regulation, the number one challenge here that we see is, of course, the First Amendment in the United States is a fairly robust protection of rights, and that is a protection of rights both for platforms, which I actually think is very important, that platforms have those rights to be able to regulate what kind of content they want on their sites. But it also means that it is a little bit tricky to really address some of the real challenges of where does bad information come from, and sort of the influence peddlers who have made a real market economy around it.
My truth is that is a lizard with human skin stretched over it. Oh man, yeah. Back on planet Zorbulon, we don't have to deal with we don't have to deal with that. We're all telepathic, so you can't hide nothing from the Queen Mother lizard.
They present themselves as the good people. Of course, they're the good people. They're the people fighting disinformation. And how do we do that? We have to take away the First Amendment. We have to take away your liberty. We have to take away your freedom of speech, because speech is bad. And we're going to give you the good speech.
Here's another bizarre example of bias. Under concentration and internment camps, Wikipedia includes migrants at the Mexico-U.S. border.
The rules of Wikipedia place the importance of sources completely backwards. They consider secondary sources to be the most important, and restrict the use of primary sources such as raw data and scientific studies and research papers, unless that data is contextualized and edited by an approved secondary source. Well, what does that mean? It means that facts are not facts until an approved enlightened expert by the Wikipedia Tribunal tells you what you are supposed to think about those facts. If you try to bring up evidence that a statement on Wikipedia is false and it doesn't come from an approved secondary source, your fact will be rejected as original research. WikiLeaks, at least according to Wikipedia, is not a reliable source. They simply ban anything that doesn't agree with their political bias, and then they try to cover up their bias by hiding behind these contradictory and bureaucratic rules. You also have the problem of paid editors who make it their actual job to sit on certain Wikipedia pages to try and push narratives that are favorable to their institution or political party. The Project Veritas page is full of nonsense for largely the same reason that the Gamergate article is full of nonsense. It sources the very media pundits that Veritas is criticizing, so of course the page is going to basically read like, "The fox did nothing wrong, source fox that is watching the henhouse."
So most of the stuff I work on, college sports in particular, isn't really affected by this stuff, but it can be pretty disheartening to see just a couple clicks away, you can get into content that's very manipulative and biased.
There were not people who were sitting constantly on an article and trying to make it say what they wanted it to say. Wikipedia is known now by everyone to have a lot of influence in the world. There are a lot of people who would be highly motivated to go in and make the article more neutral, more politically neutral, but they're not allowed to. Wikipedia is pretty reliably establishment. Well, the word for it is propaganda when it's systematic. And that's really what we're dealing with on Wikipedia.
So you now feel that Wikipedia represents propaganda?
Well, I think all of the media does, but yes, I do. If you look at the articles that Wikipedia has, you can just see how they are simply mouthing the view of the World Economic Council or World Economic Forum. If a controversy does not appear in the mainstream center-left media, then it's not going to appear on Wikipedia. There's a lot of Nobel Prize winners, distinguished doctors, and so forth, whose views are not only not welcome on Wikipedia, they're literally censored on YouTube and sometimes Facebook. Videos of interviews made with such people are removed because they directly contradict the narrative. If we put one version of reality out there, then we are, first of all, manipulating what everyone is supposed to believe. In other words, we're making a decision for them as encyclopedists. If only one version of the facts is allowed, then that gives a huge incentive to wealthy and powerful people to seize control of of things like Wikipedia, voices are literally being silenced, and there's a global enforcement of a certain point of view on issues. What we trusted them with was with our liberty and our privacy, that basically they weren't going to shut us down, but they stabbed us in the back.
Wikipedia founder Wales says he's a fan of my videos. When I asked him about his co-founder's complaint that today only progressive sources are permitted, Wales said this is just 100% false. Wikipedia's reliable sources page includes CNN and MSNBC. But political reporting by Fox is not called reliable. Wikipedia labels many other dubious left-leaning sites reliable, but rejects conservative sites that are just as good or better. I asked Wales about it. That's when he stopped answering my emails.
There are other encyclopedias, There are. There's a lot. A good, explicitly neutral encyclopedia of American politics is called Ballotpedia. It's really good. Well, on the right, there is Conservapedia, and on the left, there is Rational Wiki. Search all of them at once. I would say go to encyclosearch.org or encycloreader.org. We're trying to strike a blow against censorship and control of information.
Citizendium, for example, has a much more effective and simplified neutrality policy and less tolerance for vandals and people trying to push partisan propaganda that is present on Wikipedia. With more users that care about truth and willing to play by the more strict rules that Citizendium has, I believe Citizendium has potential if more people just give it a chance. There's also a good old Encyclopedia Britannica, which, while not free of its own establishment bias, is at least far more professional and less biased for political topics than Wikipedia by far. There's also Scholarpedia, which is a wiki focused almost entirely on academic primary sourced information and is mostly pretty decent quality.
The kinds of people that are allowed to have any influence on Wikipedia have been narrowed down greatly to essentially people who agree with the establishment left.
Well, it's certainly noticeable, and I'm rooting for its demise because I think it's so dishonest. I think it's horrifying.
You use the talk page to discuss what the article should look like and, the overall plan and to resolve differences of opinion. But that talk page has basically come to be used as basically a place where authority is wielded, the old hands, the administrators and so forth, the people who are lording it over the rest of the contributors. They hold court on the talk pages. And you have to get things by them if you want to have anything new added to a Wikipedia article. So the process has changed.
In the meantime, I've stopped donating, and I'll sure be skeptical about anything I read on Wikipedia about politics.